Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome back to another Jammin' on the Dow with myself, Mark, and my good buddy
Adam, nice to see you.
Adam. How you doing? Are you ready to jam on the Dow?
Let's do it.
We are going to jam on number 29 today. It's a good one. It's a classic one. It's a little bit on the short side, but there's still some good stuff in here. So I will take it away. Number 29. Do you think you can take over the universe and improve it?
Hmm.
I do not believe it can be done. The universe is sacred. You cannot improve it. If you try to change it, you will ruin it. If you try to hold it, you will lose it. So sometimes things are ahead, sometimes they are behind. Sometimes breathing is hard, sometimes it comes easily. Sometimes there is strength and sometimes weakness. Sometimes one is up, sometimes down. Therefore, the sage avoids extremes, excesses, and complacencies.
Hmm. Hmm.
This is from the Jia Fu Feng and Jane English translation.
Hmm.
Now I'll just read a section of it from the Stephen Mitchell version because there's some similarities, but the middle section, there is a time for being ahead, a time for being behind, a time for being in motion, a time for being at rest, a time for being vigorous, a time for being exhausted, a time for being safe, a time for being in danger. The master sees things as they are without trying to control them. She lets them go their own way and resides at the center of the circle.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So saying similar things, but I like this Mitchell version. It kind of makes it a little bit more clear, but ultimately
Yeah.
talking about extremes here, which we've talked about a lot in this channel.
Yes.
This world we live in finds itself stuck in these extremes. But also, what I find interesting is not just extremes, one end or the other, this or that, left or right, red or blue, whatever, whatever. But there's also that super middle ground that people, when they try to find balance, they think come to the center. And that's where balance is. And that, according to the Tao Te Ching and my lens, that's where complacency lies, where you're never kind of moving that barometer in any kind of direction and you're just staying centered in the middle, which is almost, it can be indifferent in some ways. I find balance as the continual motion of the back and forth and finding what is a good reaction for a certain situation. And so I like that Mitchell translation where he says, there is a time for being ahead, a time for being behind, a time for being in motion, a time for being at rest, saying there are times for things, and you need to understand what the situation is and how to
Hmm. Hmm.
respond. Not like
Hmm.
I have to be over here or I have to be over
Hmm.
here. Or I don't like extreme, so I'm just going to be in the middle and try to please everybody. Well, you need to kind of move and groove with the way that the Tao moves and grooves, or the way nature moves and grooves.
Yeah, no, this is a juicy one for sure. I think it was funny with the time that Mitchell one definitely was very reminiscent if anyone's read scripture like the book of Ecclesiastes, there's a time for every season, right? That kind of language also. There was a famous Birds and Bob Dylan song that uses that, I think. But there's a yeah, I really one of the things that I think is makes Taoism and or this sort of Taoist perspective through the lens of the Daodejing so powerful is it's always respecting the context. The Tao is always saying like there's no such thing as like an isolated event between you and reality. There is always this balancing thing. There is always so like just kind of coming in hot with what you want to do. You're just gonna always face resistance. The Tao's like you got to understand where you are and what's happening around you and the environment and the energies at play before you start introducing your thing, right? Um, because sometimes once you kind of get a sense of the context, your thing might be coming in hot, or your thing might be stepping back cool and seeing the situation, right? And I think what you're saying too with the extremes, that yeah, I do think that people ping sometimes we can ping pong back and forth, and I like to use you said like the pendulum. One of the metaphors I like is like the is a dance. I like to think of it the dance. To me, that's easy because it's like in a good dance, like yeah, I guess some styles there's like a leader and a follower in a lot, but other dance styles, it's just there's there's you're coming together to move through space, right? And with music as the decoration. And I feel like that can say a lot about a certain kind of orientation towards life that Taoism really points us towards, especially like this dance, like the most simplest, at least in like my understanding of a Taoist cosmology, is the dance between yin and yang. That dance is always within us. We're always embodying it. And so sometimes we have to be careful if like, whoa, have I like gone so deep into more like yin territory where this situation actually requires some yang? I need to like do some things. I need to direct myself, right? Or am I like trying to yang my way through against someone else that's yang in me? And it's like, whoa, this situation needs some yin receptivity. Like, whoa, I got to step back, see the situation.
Yep.
See the like let the larger flow unfold, right? Surrender to the flow instead of trying to force some sort of directionality on a situation that maybe just the directionality is still settling. The sort of parties are still, negotiating what's going to happen, negotiating the meaning or the value that they're trying to derive out of that event.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people, it's interesting how generally speaking, this is very generally speaking, typically yang is associated with masculine energy and yin is associated with feminine energy. Now, of course, that's not to be confused with male or female, but there are definitely similarities in the energies of females being very yin and males being very yang. And that's why the law of attraction kind of exists among humans and mammals and things, is those two energies like to come together. Now, of course, you can have females that are overly yang and men that are overly yin, but often we see these stereotypes of the male and female dynamics being so separate when there is this cohesion that comes together in this divine partnership of the lifting up and the pulling down. And it doesn't matter male or female. You can have both of those energies within typically you should have both of those
You
energies
all you do.
in
It's just a
you. It
matter of
depends
how
on,
they're yeah
are you
cultivated.
listening to it? Are you cultivating?
Yeah,
Are you aware of it? Understand?
yeah, yep.
But it's really helpful when you're in a partnership where you both understand this. And it doesn't need to be a romantic partnership. It could be a business partnership or just a friendship. But when people understand these concepts more, you don't have to have that butting of the heads all the time. You can let people kind of do their thing and be there as a support mechanism to either lift up or to be like, hey, you got to rein it back in a little bit, buddy.
Hmm.
And that's just very powerful because we are ultimately here to help each other,
Hmm.
support each other. And often
Hmm.
the dynamics get so out of control where they end up fighting each other. And it's because of this lack of awareness of these simple components of understanding, like you were saying, the understanding the situation around you before you bring you into it.
Hmm.
It's such a
Hmm.
simple concept, but again, we're not taught this. We're not cultivating this as young children.
Not always, no.
Not-
And I think a lot of
So
like
we don't bring that into our adult lives where these things truly matter
yeah.
in terms of work
Yes.
life and
Yes.
home life and
It definitely can be extremely disruptive, and it just goes against the nature of the world, which we are anyway. Like we already are the world, so it's one
yeah.
of those things too. And I think what I love about like Taoism from a lot of other religious paradigms that I've either lived as myself or like studied as someone interested in them is that a lot of religious philosophical traditions come down to like these hard maxims or axioms of like or doctrine, right? Like do this, do that. And I love how the Daodejing is constantly pushing to be like, what's the situation? Like, what is happening, right? Pay attention to the energies that are in play.
Hmm.
A- And then you'll kind of find the way. The way is through what's happening. The way is not through your glorious mind of what's ideal in any given situation. The way is always through what is already happening because that cannot change. And when you try to change it, you just disrupt your own system and sort of like you and the world are just completely out of resonance. And now you're in this really funky place. You're adding this energy that's not really helpful to the situation. And you're losing the thread of what's actually happening, which reduces your efficacy in any space you're in. So it's such a really practical framework for living.
Yeah. Yeah, and assumptions
Yeah.
expectations, those all always get in the way of this natural flow of things. And like the only
Yes.
expectation you should have is expect that things are working the way they're supposed to be working.
Which
But
is the most like that's one of those assumptions that I would say is not common, especially, and I understand like there's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of horrible things happening in the world. So I understand why like what you said might be like not make sense. And it's not like we're saying that the events that are happening are good or bad or ideal. What we're saying is the world is happening as the world happens, and the world happens as it happens is fundamentally just it is like it's good. Like the you
it's the
trust that
10,000 things, right? It's the
yes,
things.
yes,
Now, it can be said that because of the addiction to control that
mm,
a lot of, some of humanity, not a lot, the minority of humanity has this addiction to control, honestly. But
hmm,
that holds a lot of weight, though, because there's a lot of influence and money and power amongst these groups of people. And they can change the way the universe operates in some ways and change paradigms and change trajectories through whether it's an experiment or a law or whatever. And that's all part of it, though. You
yeah,
know, the even though there are people manipulating systems and controls, that is still part of the 10,000 things.
yes, it
Is it,
is.
is it great? No. Is it
No,
helpful in a lot of ways? No. But what we have to understand is that it is technically now another system, a new system that's been created and still holds the same confines of the original system, which is the Tao, the all things, the universe, the 10,000 things.
yeah,
And it can make things difficult. It can cause heartache and strife and hardship and
yep.
homelessness and all these and hunger and all these horrible things we see. And that's what a lot of people don't like to look at. A lot of people don't like to see the negative, don't like to talk about the negative, but it's very much there. It's part of it. And you have to think about it if you're ever going to come up with solutions to it, right? So you can't be this out of sight, out of mind thing. Well, if it doesn't affect me, then what am I worried about? Well, it affects the collective,
You're
right?
part of the world, ain't you?
Part of it all together, for better or for worse. So again, it's the awareness of these extremes that exist in
Yeah,
order to find more of a balance. And it doesn't mean going to the other side.
I do think I will say this though. I have noticed in my own patterns and in other people's patterns that oftentimes when we feel a strong attraction aversion tension where it's like we're really attracted to something but then this other part of us like really doesn't want us to do it at the same time, right? That can be a really damaging thing in either direction because that polarity gets heightened every time you either strongly attract to it or strongly averse to it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so finding changing your relationship in a way that reduces the temperature of that is extremely helpful. Because yeah, you can get locked in that ping-ponging back between super attraction, super aversion, and it's just like, oh, I'm still just in it. Like alcohol is still running my life because I'm in that tension all the time.
Think about a workaholic, for example, someone who's just like
Yeah,
married to their work and forgets about their family and forgets about their life and just so focused on work. Well, if you need to make a change, are you gonna just stop working forever? And now, okay, I worked too much and I forgot about my family. Now I'm gonna stop working and just focus on my family. No, like you have to be able to find that again, balance of time and energy of what you're putting towards work and family and have that delicate balance always going on because you can't just go from one extreme to the other. That's never gonna it's never
well, it depends on the context, right? Because I guess there are some extremes. I mean, I definitely like there are some people I've seen them in my line of work who are working so hard that literally, if they do not stop, they will burn out and they will do significant damage to their health. So sometimes maybe. But yeah, I think in general, yeah. But the context is key. That's the key of the Tao.
Yeah, I mean,
The Taoists provide us a
there's a
really
time for
keen
this and a time for
observation
that.
of the Tao orients us towards context and enriching ourselves with what are we in right now? What am I walking into?
Yeah.
And then seeing what energies may support or not support that
Yeah.
situation.
And that takes slowing down, right? That takes
Sure does.
taking almost like a back seat, another
Yes.
third party perspective almost
Yes.
includes breath
Yes.
work,
The
meditation,
movement practice. Yes.
Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, all these things that help you slow down
Yeah.
in order to heighten that awareness.
Yes.
You can do that on a semi-regular basis. You don't have to force yourself to do these things all the time because then that's an excess again. But finding that time, setting aside time, however many hours a week that feels comfortable to you to do these cultivation practices to build your
Yes.
awareness, it then becomes
Yes.
second nature and you can adapt and adopt that into different facets of your life and situations. And when a situation does come up that maybe normally you would have overreacted to, having
Hmm.
that awareness principle within you can help you slow down,
Yep.
take stock of the situation, understand what's going
Yeah.
on, and then respond appropriately.
Yep.
And that would change relationships like
Totally.
so profoundly. It could be an
Absolutely.
example to other people in your life too, who may be overreactionary.
Yes.
Because let's face it, this world makes us overreactionary in a lot of ways. And again, it's up to us to support each other, to uplift each other, and to rein each other in, and to be examples for each other when we do find these mechanisms that can help us find balance, not to keep to ourselves, but to share that with others and to be that candlelight in the dark cave that others can find that illumination from.
Hmm.
Hmm. Number 29. It's a good one. We'd love to hear what you all have to think about this one. So drop a line in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.